Welcome to War Metrics, where we cut through the noise with clear, in-depth analysis of the world's most critical security challenges. As President Trump openly questions America's role in NATO amid the escalating Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz crisis, calling allies cowards who refuse to help secure vital shipping lanes, one explosive question now dominates global headlines. Will the United States actually leave NATO? Or is this strategic pressure rather than a full exit? Today, we deliver a thorough, multi-layered breakdown covering history, legal realities, current triggers, arguments on both sides, potential scenarios, and long-term implications. Good evening, I'm your host. Let's dive deep into whether America stays or goes. To understand if America will leave NATO, we must first examine the alliance's foundations and the long arc of U.S. frustration. NATO was created in 1949 as a collective defense pact against Soviet expansion. Its core is Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. The United States has been the indispensable pillar, providing the majority of funding, intelligence, logistics, and nuclear umbrella for 7 decades. Only once has Article 5 been invoked, after the September 11th attacks, when European allies joined America in Afghanistan. For years, however, Washington has shouldered a disproportionate burden. The United States spends roughly 3.5% of GDP on defense, while many European members historically fell short of the 2% target agreed in 2014. By 2024, only about half the allies met that mark. This imbalance has fueled bipartisan irritation in Congress, but no president has weaponized it like Donald Trump. During his first term, Trump repeatedly labeled NATO obsolete, threatened outright withdrawal unless allies paid their fair share, and even privately discussed pulling U.S. troops from Germany. His pressure worked. European defense budgets rose sharply, yet the grievances never vanished. Fast forward to the 2024 campaign and his second term beginning in January 2025. Trump again campaigned on demanding more from allies or reconsidering America's commitment. The real accelerant arrived in February 2026 with the outbreak of the U.S.-Israel war against Iran, when Iran mined and disrupted the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of global oil passes. Trump asked NATO for naval support to reopen the waterway and protect energy security. Most European members declined, citing risks of direct confrontation with Iran and domestic political constraints. Trump's public response was blunt. He called NATO allies cowards and freeloaders, posted on Truth Social that maybe it's time we leave NATO and let them defend themselves, and hinted the alliance had outlived its usefulness. This is not mere rhetoric. In the past 3 weeks, the administration has quietly begun small-scale personnel reductions at several U.S. bases in Europe, redirected some intelligence assets, and increased pressure on allies to raise spending targets. At the emergency NATO summit in March 2026, European leaders agreed under duress to a new 5% GDP defense spending goal by 2035, an unprecedented jump driven almost entirely by American leverage. Yet the damage to trust is visible. French President Macron and German Chancellor Scholz have both warned that any formal U.S. withdrawal would end the transatlantic security order as we know it. So the stage is set. Historic resentment, fresh battlefield frustration over Iran, and a president who has never hidden his skepticism. But does this mean actual exit? We turn next to the formidable legal, political, and military barriers. Even if President Trump wants to leave NATO, the path is far from simple. In 2024, Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act with a bipartisan provision requiring any president seeking to withdraw from NATO to obtain a 2/3 Senate vote, exactly the threshold needed to ratify treaties. This was explicitly designed to block unilateral exit. Legal scholars across the spectrum agree that Trump cannot simply tweet America out. Any attempt without Senate approval would face immediate court challenges and likely be struck down. Recognizing these constraints, the administration has shifted to what analysts call a quiet quit strategy. Since late February 2026, the Pentagon has reduced rotational troop deployments in Eastern Europe by roughly 15%, slowed joint exercises, and signaled that future U.S. funding for NATO's common budget could be cut unless spending targets accelerate. Trump has also floated the idea of bilateral deals with individual allies, offering ironclad protection only to those who pay more, bypassing the collective alliance entirely. European reactions have been swift and anxious. Poland and the Baltic states, most exposed to Russian threats, are scrambling to increase their own defense budgets beyond even the new 5% target. Germany has announced a $150 billion special defense fund expansion. France is pushing for strategic autonomy, accelerating its nuclear and naval programs. Behind closed doors, European diplomats admit they are preparing contingency plans for a partial or full U.S. drawdown, including deeper EU defense integration and possible British-French nuclear sharing arrangements. Public opinion in the United States complicates the picture further. Multiple polls released in March 2026 show that while 42% of Republicans support reconsidering NATO membership, overall American support for staying remains strong. 58% oppose withdrawal, citing the alliance's role in deterring Russia and China. Even many Trump voters say they want allies to pay more, not for America to abandon Europe. Meanwhile, the Iran war context adds urgency. With oil prices above $110 a barrel and global energy markets rattled, European leaders privately acknowledge their hesitation to help in the Hormuz crisis has given Trump powerful ammunition. Yet they argue that NATO's original mandate is European defense, not Middle East policing. This philosophical divide, America wanting a global alliance, Europe preferring a regional one, has never been wider. We now reach the most critical question. What are the realistic scenarios and their sweeping consequences? 3 plausible futures emerge for America and NATO in 2026 and beyond. Scenario 1, most likely, is continued pressure without formal exit. Trump uses the legal barriers and strong public support to extract maximum concessions, faster spending hikes, more European naval commitments in future crises, and perhaps even NATO involvement in the Indo-Pacific against China. The alliance survives bruised but intact, with the U.S. still the dominant power but demanding far more from partners. This NATO 2.0 would feature higher European capabilities and reduced American troop numbers, satisfying Trump's base while preserving deterrence against Russia. Scenario 2, a partial or quiet withdrawal, sees America scale back its Article 5 commitment to only core Eastern European allies who meet the 5% target while pulling forces from Western Europe. Bilateral treaties replace the collective pact. Russia would test this new reality quickly, perhaps through hybrid operations in the Baltics or increased pressure on Ukraine. China would view it as proof of Western disunity, accelerating its own timelines for Taiwan. Scenario 3, full legal exit, remains improbable in the near term due to the Senate supermajority requirement and midterm election risks in 2026. Yet if Republicans gain overwhelming majorities or if another major crisis erupts, the political math could shift. The global fallout would be seismic. European defense spending might eventually rise, but short-term gaps would invite Russian adventurism. Energy prices would spike further as markets price in instability. The U.S. would face higher costs to project power alone, losing shared bases, intelligence networks, and rapid reaction forces that NATO currently provides at a discount. Long-term, a post-NATO world could fracture the liberal international order, emboldening authoritarian powers and raising the risk of great power conflict. Edge cases matter too. A sudden Russian move against a NATO member while U.S. commitment waivers could force America back in, regardless of politics. Conversely, if Iran war casualties mount and domestic isolationist sentiment grows, even Democrats might soften their traditional pro-NATO stance. My professional assessment after weighing all angles: America is unlikely to leave NATO formally in 2026. The legal hurdles, public support, and strategic value remain too high. What we are witnessing instead is the most aggressive renegotiation of the alliance in its 77-year history. Trump is using the Iran crisis as leverage to force Europe to shoulder more of the burden, exactly as he promised. The alliance will evolve, not dissolve. The coming months are decisive. Watch Senate dynamics, European spending numbers, and any new Trump statements tied to the Hormuz deadline. At Warmetrics, we will continue tracking every development with clear, fact-based analysis. Thank you for watching this extended deep dive. If you want us to break down specific scenarios or related topics like U.S. troop costs or European nuclear options, comment below. Subscribe, hit notifications, and stay informed on the forces reshaping our world. This is Warmetrics, clarity in chaos. Stay safe.